Welcome to Giant Ability TV.
Do not govern your life by fancy, but by reason. One ought always to side with reason and duty, so that neither vulgar passion nor tyrannical violence may be able to make one abandon them. The crafty often stand neuter and by a plausible and a metaphysical subtlety endeavor to reconcile their conscience to their passion with reasons of state. But an upright man looks upon that way of chiming as a kind of treason, thinking it may honor to be good than to be great. George Shelley. The killings of innocent citizens in the Plateau has generated reactions and condemnations locally and internationally, and people whose voice can be heard have been speaking. Meetings have been held, with the most recent by the governors of the North Central who were in Plateau State to commiserate with the people and government of the state, and as a show of solidarity and camaraderie sympathy. Ideas were generated and brought on the table with regard to how to forestall future occurrences of what is being widely accepted as a barbaric and criminal act, to say the least, by the Fulani terrorists. One of the prominent Nigerians who lent his voice to the problematic situation that has lingered for quite a long time and which seemed to have defied all possible solutions was a retired general and former president of the Nigerian Senate in person of General David Mark. David Alechanu Bonaventure Mark, GCON, born 8th of April 1948, is a retired Nigerian brigadier general and a politician. He served as the 12th president of the Nigerian Senate from 2007 to 2015 and was the senator for Benue South Senatorial District from 1999 to 2019. He is a member of the People's Democratic Party (PDP). Prior to his senatorial career, Mark was the military governor of Niger State from 1984 to 1986 and is a former minister of communication. He is the longest-serving president of the Nigerian Senate. He called on the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu to, as a matter of urgency, review the security architecture of the country, declare emergency on security and declare a state of emergency in Plateau State, among many other suggestions. The problem of what fits in for description as genocide that was carried out on the eve of Christmas against the people of Plateau, where more than 200 people were murdered in cold blood and their houses razed, did not just start yesterday. It has been like a monster that has persistently stared the people in the face. Whether the reactions of the people, including the highly respected general, came to the appropriate time and whether it is capable of holding water is another kettle of fish, and what only time will tell. But it is very important to realize the importance of timing, and as a lesson from the admonition of Churchill Winston, the well-revered former Prime Minister of England, which says, "It's in the years of peace that war is prevented, and those foundations laid upon which the noble structure of the future can be built, that peace will not be preserved without the virtues which make victories possible in war." Peace will not be preserved by pious sentiment expressed in terms of platitude, or by official grimace and diplomatic correctitude, or by casting aside in dangerous times alternative or warlike strengths. There must be earnest thought, there must be faithful perseverance and foresight. Great heart must have his sword and armor to guide the pilgrims on their way. One truth that seems to have been avoided all along is about what can be the solution that is profound and far-reaching, which can bring to a permanent end this invasion and reckless destruction of the lives and properties of the Plateau people. It is no good scratching on the surface or treating the symptom and avoiding the disease. The best and the only solution to the security challenges in Nigeria, which is systemic, cannot be achieved with the structure that currently obtains in the country. The Fulanis have a cleansing agenda, and nothing in terms of policies of government on the peripheral can stop them.
This morning, we probably have had a harvest of deaths in excess of 100. We have buried not less than 15 people in Mangu local government, and in Bokos, it's 100 and still counting, minus those who are missing that we cannot account for at the moment. Also, not less than 17 communities have been completely burned down, and those who survived are presently in IDP, in the temporary IDP camp, particularly in Bokos. And it's been a great tragedy. What have we done to be able to get to this point before this current crisis? We resorted to both kinetic and non-kinetic strategies. For the non-kinetic, We got into a lot of community engagements, trying to unravel remote and immediate causes of the crisis. We've been able to sit down at various levels with community leaders. And that worked. It worked to a large extent because they saw our sincerity. They saw our determination to change the narrative. That we didn't just come to have these discussions as usual, just for political correctness. We were able to get to some of the issues that really touch and affect people. But I must say that this recent action has nothing to do with farmers-herders clash, has nothing to do with religion. This is pure criminality. This is pure terrorism. This is just gruesome murder, on the eve of a revered day of remembrance. It's quite unfortunate, but we will continue these engagements and also explore other ways by which we can be able to bring the situation under control.
There is complicity from government agency, especially those who are responsible for securing the lives and properties of the people. Until people like General David Mark retired, who have a deeper knowledge of the structural defects of the country than most ordinary citizens, are ready to hit the nail on the head. The blood-tasting marauders and terrorists who are criminally minded will continue to have a field day. If the foundation is destroyed, there is nothing that can hold the building, no matter how beautiful it may look. The only solution is to destroy and rebuild from the bottom upward. Nigeria as a country is due for a holistic remedy, and this is nothing other than restructuring of the country such that will put security responsibilities at the door of every state and making the governors of the state not only wear just the toga of the chief security officer of their state, but have the powers to act as such. As fearful as reality is, it is less fearful than the evasion of reality. Let the admonition be a guide to the next line of action, which is critical and indispensable. We must seek a world of peace, a world in which people dwell in mutual respect and work together in mutual regard. A world where peace is not a mere interlude between wars, but an incentive to the creative energies of humanity. We will not find such a peace today or even tomorrow. The obstacles to hope are large and menacing, yet the goal of the peaceful world today and tomorrow must shape our decision and inspire our purposes. John F. Kennedy. As we face the hard reality of this gloomy moment of our history, we should be led by reason and appreciate the fact that the probability that we may fail in the struggle ought not to deter us from the support of a cause we believe to be just. Abraham Lincoln. The New Year speech of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has attracted reactions from the main opposition parties, namely the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and the Labour Party (LP). They describe the president's New Year broadcast as a harvest of deceit, false claims and empty promises. X-raying the speech of the president. The only part that was offensive is where he described the February 25, 2023 presidential election as free, fair and credible, and that he, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, won the election. It is worthy of mention and in good faith that as well crafted as the speech was, the reader, that is Mr. President, did not articulate the content well enough. When the president declared in Abeokuta when he was warming up for the presidential election that Emiloko, meaning it is my turn, that to a perceptive mind was seen and understood as prophetic, and there is nothing bad about doing so. However, after the election had come and gone, having President Bola Ahmed Tinubu come on a national television and in a national broadcast to declare to Nigerians that he won the election against the backdrop of how the election has been adjudged as the most fraudulent in the history of the country since the return to democracy in 1999 is, to say the least, mischievous and illusory.
Yeah, was very challenging one. It was eventful in so many ways for our country. It was a transition year that saw a peaceful, orderly, and successful transfer of power from one administration to another, marking the yet another remarkable step in our 24 years of unbroken democracy. It was a year you, the gracious people of this blessed nation, entrust your faith in me with a clear mandate to make our country better, to revamp our economy, restore our security within our borders, revitalize our floundering industrial sector, boost agricultural production, increase national productivity, and set our country on an irreversible path towards national progress that we and future generation will forever be proud of.
One important thing to make categorically clear to Nigerians and for record purpose is that, for instance, it is common knowledge that the former President Olusegun Obasanjo owns the Bell University, Atiku Abubakar owns the American University of Nigeria, Dati Baba Ahmed Yusuf, the running mate of Mr. Peter Gregory Obi in the last presidential election, owns the Bayes University, Abuja. Late Chief Obafemi Awolowo had the former University of Ife named after him, and late MKO Abiola had a polytechnic in Abeokuta named after him. Suffice to say also that all other former presidents of Nigeria, including the late Musa Yar'Adua and Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, are eminently qualified to own or have educational institutions, each named after them. The question is, if an educational institution is named after Tinubu, won't that be an eyesore and anathema? For who gives what he does not have? The same applies to former President Muhammadu Buhari because of his bad leadership record. We all know the important place of education in a nation and in the lives of the citizens, and if a president is not qualified to own or have an educational institution named after him, what then remains about that president in terms of integrity and morality? Suffice to say that it is better to leave our children well informed than reach for better at the hopes of the informed than the wealth of the ignorant. A word is enough for the wise. However, if Jephthah, who was an outcast, can lead the children of Israel to victory in war, the same is possible with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if only he understands purpose, realizing that God allowing him to be in position today is not for him to lead, but to help save the country from the bloodthirsty Fulanis in Nigeria, thereby converting his ambition into a visionary leadership. The role of the opposition in Nigeria should not be limited to the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party, according to Dr. Oseni Rufai of Arise TV. It is the business of all well-meaning Nigerians, both at home and abroad. It has to be deliberate and intentional, and with a view to making the government of the day lose their position, not just by criticizing them, but by preferring alternative ideas and solutions to the country's problems. We are all idealists. We are all visionaries. Let it not be said of this Atlantic generation that we left ideas and visions to the past, nor purpose and determination to our adversaries. We have come too far. We have sacrificed too much to disdain the future now. And we shall ever remember what Goethe told us, that the highest wisdom, the best that mankind ever knew, was the realization that he only earns his freedom and existence who daily conquers them anew. John F. Kennedy. The Nigerian youths have a key role to play in the struggle for the realization of a new Nigeria, and for this to happen, the charge by the former President Olusegun Obasanjo to them to be positively disruptive has to resonate and be put to work. The youth should realize that they cannot remain as youths forever, for as time flies, so also are they susceptible to change, and once opportunity lost is hard to regain. Childhood must pass away, and then youth as surely as age approaches. The true wisdom is to be always seasonable and to change with a good grace in changing circumstances. To love playthings well as a child, to lead an adventurous and honorable youth, and to settle when the time arrives into a green and smiling age is to be a good artist in life and deserve well of yourself and your neighbor. Robert Louis Stevenson. Nigerian youths are enjoined therefore to keep their eyes on the main chance and take cognizance of this important admonition. Thus, one should not underestimate ripeness as a factor facilitating discoveries which, as the saying goes, are in the air, meaning that the various components which will go into the new synthesis are all lying around and only waiting for the trigger action of chance or the catalyzing action of an exceptional brain to be assembled and welded together. If one opportunity is missed, another will occur. Arthur Koestler. The role of the civil society organization CSO in Nigeria cannot be overemphasized, for they who should be the vanguard of the nation and the watchdogs of the people as well as the driver of the struggle for the realization of a new Nigeria, seem to have taken the back seat instead of being the drivers. Take cognizance of the fact that ideas such as freedom, justice, opportunity, and individualism are just dreams without someone to turn those ideas into reality. It is time for you to rise to the occasion while the nation is at the port, lest it sinks in the sea. The Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence Sultan Mohammed Sa'ad Abubakar III, is a highly revered religious and traditional leader, and by divine arrangement, a retired military officer. What is agitating the minds of concerned and perceptive Nigerians is about his inability to take a decisive action against the excesses of the Fulanis, especially those who have given themselves up to criminality. Their menace almost reached the climax during the reign of former President Muhammadu Buhari, who himself is of the Fulani extraction but who felt apathetic to the plight of the Fulanis who were allegedly involved as actors in the Fulani herdsmen and farmers clashes that led to the loss of lives of thousands of innocent Nigerians. Recall also, Your Eminence, how a female student of the Shehu Shagari College of Education by name Deborah Samuel was burnt alive by her schoolmates on 12 May 2022 on the accusation that she blasphemed. Her gruesome murder was more reprehensible, dastardly, and barbaric than the most recent Plateau killing, for the simple reason that her killers are known and unfortunately they were her schoolmates. This happened with impunity in your domain, and none of the perpetrators of this heinous crime has been brought to book till date. The then governor of the state, Honorable Aminu Tambuwa, also cannot be absolved from the guilt of her death being indifferent. The same also applies to the Waziri of Adamawa and the former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, who denied his alleged condemnation of the act for political reasons. The role of Mayor Tiala Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, MACBAN, cannot be substituted for yours to avoid what may result in a reprisal attack of an unprecedented and unimaginable dimension against the Fulanis in Nigeria. Your suing for peace on special occasions, especially religious festivities, should go beyond rhetorics, for a stitch in time saves nine. It's not surprising also, and not out of place, to connect the negative report about Sokoto State topping the list of the multidimensional poor states in Nigeria, as well as a state that has lost its peace and tranquility to kidnapping, banditry, and terrorism. Here is an admonition from a wise man. Remember that the real duties of religion are independent of human institutions, that a righteous heart is the true temple of the Godhead, that in every land, in every sect, to love God, God above all things, and to love our neighbor as ourselves is the whole law. Remember that there is no religion that absolves us from our moral duties, but these alone are really essential, that the service of the heart is the first of these duties, and that without faith there is no such thing as true virtue. It is now the turn of Chief Olusegun Osoba, a former governor of Ogun State and a chieftain of the All Progressive Congress Party (APC), to be dragged into the mud of sensitive national discourse relating to the Igbo Presidency in Nigeria and the release of the leader of IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, from detention. In his most recent interview on Arise TV morning show, Chief Olusegun, responding to a question on his perception about the Igbo Presidency in Nigeria, he replied that the Igbo Presidency is not a right and should not be seen by them as an entitlement. He also indicated that he had approached President Bola Tinubu to get his reaction about the continuous detention of the leader of IPOB, but said the president made it clear to him that because the case is in court, he has no power to make Kanu's release possible. This submission from an elder statesman about the presidency of the Igbos leaves much to be desired, for the question that he needs to answer is whether the Igbo presidency will cease from being seen as a right or entitlement by them when it becomes a fraudulent enterprise, like the case was with Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Some of my brother Igbos think that it's a right, entitlement. Our brothers, the Igbos, must talk to ourselves. Only Ngige talk to me that he would like to be president. That came to me to talk to me that he will be president. When Abiola and I wanted to, we went around the whole of the East. We saw Nnamdi Azikiwe. We saw Onu, we saw Mbakwe. We went around to each of their homes in their villages. Most of the Igbos didn't think that they should talk to us in Southwest. I feel sorry about that. I mean, look, the handshake across the South, led by people like Tinubus, Commodore Ebitikiwe and Co. With us, Yoruba, that built up to June 12, was forgotten. Two, you see, the tribalistic politics cannot help. Anybody who wants to be president of this country must recognize the other tribes. The kind of entitlement cannot give the Igbos the presidency. As for Nnamdi Kanu, I have not discussed it with the president, but I know that from what I have from other sources, he's asking the Attorney General, can he, as a president, interfere with court processes? Can he order the court to stop the processes? These are issues. If we are negotiating something for Kanu, we have to look at the implication in terms of the legal processes and what are the power of the president to either interfere with the court or not.
How much consultation should have been done by Mr. Peter Gregory Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, which he failed to do? Suffice to say that both Chief Olusegun Osoba and the Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka are provoking the Nigerian youths who supposedly should be seen and supported as their children. They should recall that even the Bible warns that parents should not provoke their children and make them sin against God. Recall how Professor Wole Soyinka once referred to Mr. Peter Gregory Obi and the Obedience family as Bajue, meaning fraud. Professor Wole Soyinka and Chief Olusegun Osoba, your attitude to the Nigerian youth whose mandate was stolen by your party is unbecoming and unfortunate to say the least. Never exchange a good conscience for the goodwill of people or to avoid their ill will. Charles Simmons. Let this note of warning, also in the form of advice from a wise man, be given. Know how to draw away and do not give yourself so wholly to others that you do not belong to yourself. Neither be all nor give all to anyone. Neither blood nor friendship nor the most pressing obligation justifies it. For there is a big difference between the bestowal of your affection and the bestowal of yourself. On a final note, as we grapple with a multidimensional problem of bad economy, unemployment, hunger, inflation, and insecurity, let us all continue to do our best and summon courage to choose the right path that takes us to the promised land, which is none other than a restructuring of Nigeria. This is the only way out, and every other way is misleading. Woe unto them that call evil good, and good evil, that put darkness for light, and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet, and sweet for bitter. Isaiah 5:20. Don't forget to also frustrate the efforts of your saboteurs who want to keep you in bondage perpetually by sharing this video and subscribing to our channel, even as we are committed to feeding you with ideas that are capable of awakening the giants in you. Happy New Year and God bless Nigeria.
Thank you for watching.